Nelson Kawamarish here from Sacred Ways, speaking to you from Lisa's Kitchen. So we had a lot of good feedback on the elderberry syrup for cold prevention that I posted on Sacred Ways. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a tea to keep you healthy during the cold and flu season. We just got word, I was just speaking to a friend on the phone, and he says that the cold and the flu is here in Pine Plains pretty big. So this should help those who live in town, and even if you don't live here in town, this should help you. So let's meet our players for today. Start with a quart of water, and I'll talk about what's in here in a little bit. Our herbs that we're going to be using today: 3 tablespoons of lemon balm, dried lemon balm leaves. This is an anti-catarrhal, which is for coughs, an antiviral, and it's an expectorant. Here we have 2 tablespoons of dried peppermint leaves, which are great for colds and flus. 2 tablespoons of dried elderberries. We saw these before in the previous video. Elderberries are an antioxidant, antiviral. They're an expectorant. Great to use for colds, flus, sinuses. Here we have 1 teaspoon of dried echinacea root. Again, great for colds, flus, sinuses, and for throat issues. 2 teaspoons of dried elder flowers. So this is the flowers from the elderberry plant. Again, for coughs, anti-catarrhal, for fevers, and for colds and flus. Here we have 1 teaspoon of dried licorice root. It's an antiviral, it's an expectorant. A demulcent, which helps soothe inflamed tissues. Here, 1 teaspoon of rose hips, which is an astringent, so that'll help with secretions. And 1 teaspoon of chopped astragalus root, which is great it's a lower respiratory tonic, and it's great for the immune system. So what we're going to do here, it's a combination of 2 things. When you take herbs and you put them in hot water, that's called an infusion. If any of you have ever made a cup of tea, then you've made an infusion. You took the hot water, put it in your tea bag, which had the herbs in it, let that sit for a few minutes, take the tea bag out, and drink the liquid. That's an infusion. Infusions are great for parts of the plants that are soft, such as the leaves, flowers, maybe some of the stems. But when you get to over here, the roots, or if you're ever going to use bark, those are denser materials, and it's harder to get the essence of what you want from the plant out of them. So these need to be in the hot water for longer periods of time. You need to boil them in water first for a longer period of time. That's called a decoction. So what we're going to do here is a combination of a decoction, because we're using some roots, and then the infusion for the rest of the herbs. When you do a decoction, what's recommended is that you soak the roots overnight. So that's what I've done here, and that's why this is colored already. This has been sitting in the water since last night. You can see it's already sort of made a tea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour them in my pan, get this boiling for 30 minutes. We'll come back at the end of the 30 minutes. We'll put the rest of the herbs in there to make the infusion, and we'll take it from there. So let me pour this in here. I mentioned this in the previous video. You should use distilled or filtered water. I like this pan. It has the little spout for when we have to pour it later on. So I'm going to get this boiling, and then we'll come back and I'll see you then. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so after we cut out the video, what I did is I added a little bit more distilled, some filtered water to rinse off the herbs that had gotten stuck to the wall of the jar. I wanted to get all of that into the pot. So I got this to a full boil. I think I may have mentioned that the decoction was for half hour. It should be 15-20 minutes. So I got that up to a full boil, moved it to the back. It's been simmering for a half hour. Shut that off. And now we'll do the infusion part, so we can take all these dried herbs, the lemon balm, the peppermint, the elderberries, the elder flowers, and the rose hips. I took away the roots. That was just for demonstration purposes, since they were already put in the water from last night. So now we'll pour this in onto the herbs. Okay, I put this on a frying pan just in case I spilled any, but I didn't. I'm going to cover it because I want all the volatile oils and all the goodness to stay in the jar. We're going to keep this sitting there for a half hour. Just shake it a little bit, make sure that all the herbs are getting wet. Okay, so we'll let this sit for a half hour. Then it's done. You strain it, and that's it. The dose is 1 to 2 cups during cold flu season. If you feel the first sign of illness, you can double that to 2 to 4 cups a day. I do want to mention that these herbs, they do have medicinal properties, so you should always be aware of what you're putting in your body. Whether you research it yourself, whether you look it up in an herbal book, whether you speak to your healthcare professional, make sure that there's no contraindication for any of these herbs. If you're local, I do have access to these herbs if you would like to purchase them from me, including the tea. If you don't want to go through the bother of making the tea yourself, we can make them in quart batches and sell them to you if that's interested. If you're interested in that. If you like what you see here on Sacred Ways, please like our videos and share them to anyone who you feel might benefit from them. If there's anything else that you want to see on Sacred Ways, please let us know. Comment on our videos so that we know what you're looking for. Okay? So, blessings. Take care.